Namaskar, I am Tanmay De and welcome to Sanchoita. I hope you are doing good and learning from my videos. In this video, you can learn to take dictation of the editorial passage. Today's passage is an editorial passage of the Hindu. Speed will be 80 words per minute. Total words 806. As you know, readback and transcription is the two main important factors of stenography. By doing these two, you can improve your speed and accuracy in stenography. So, after completion of this video, you should try to read your script and do transcription. At the same time, knowing outlines and meanings of some important or tough words will help you a lot to get speed and accuracy in stenography. For that, after the dictation, you will have meanings, outlines of some important words and the full passage. Now, be ready. I will start my dictation after the countdown of 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Start. There can be no better way for Judge of the Supreme Court of India to mark his birthday by celebrating the glorious constitutional duty that has been entrusted to him and his peers as officers of the highest court in the land. Last week, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud did precisely this when he remarked within double quote, "We are a constitutional court if we, as a constitutional court, do not lay down law and protect personal liberty, then who will decode?" It was a salve for those who have doubted the court's ability to protect basic human freedoms in the country. But even as the court seems to have shown some self awareness after an arguably long time, the circumstances in which this statement was made diminished its value considerably. The statement was made during the hearing that concluded in granting interim bail to TV anchor Arnab Goswami in a matter that was listed a mere one day after petition was filed. The application before the Supreme Court was in appeal against the decision of the Bombay High Court to refuse to entertain Mr. Goswami's habeas corpus petition, citing procedure that no bail can be granted in a petition under Article 226 of the Constitution and requiring him to apply to a lower court for appropriate relief. The Bombay High Court, in issuing that order, merely followed the law. In response, in a unique turn of events, Mr. Goswami sought relief simultaneously from both the trial court within bracket a sessions court bracket close and the Supreme Court. This is arguably the first time that an accused has moved both the lowest and highest courts together. The larger concern here is the decision of the Supreme Court to offer barefacedly Mr. Goswami special treatment of an order that ordinary citizens of this country cannot even dream of. Indeed, the entire process, starting with the original application at the Sessions Court in Alibag to the High Court in Mumbai to the top court, was concluded in a total of only 7 days. The extraordinary speed at which the judicial system seems to have worked to entertain Mr. Goswami's plea is one thing to note, but observers are also surprised that the Supreme Court listed the matter of the very next day after receiving the petition, despite having placed the case under the defect list after identifying a host of defects within bracket at least 9 bracket close in his petition. If similar leeway was given to every citizen, the judicial system would be viewed with less suspicion and more benevolence. In these circumstances, it comes as no surprise that an individual like Kunal Kamra, a comedian, makes certain remarks, albeit crude, on the series of unfortunate events. Arguably, this is the view of a large section of the general public. This case has now become a textbook example of what power and influence can do for you in this country. Mr. Goswami, whom I regard as an exemplar non journalist in the Indian media today, covered his bases by being the within single quote loudest voice in the room decode, and his arrest had many in the corridors of the secretariat buildings securing too suddenly and uncharacteristically defend within single quote free speech decode. For the past few years, particularly since the Bharatiya Janata Party led government took power at the center, the performance of the judiciary has deteriorated to disappointing lows. It no stand on the pedestal of chief protector of freedoms. The government has done so much damage to personal liberty, but the courts and especially the Supreme Court has watched this indiscriminate and often literally violent trampling of dissent like mute spectators. This is hammered home in incident after incident and case after case in the haphazard arrests of students and teachers made after the Delhi riots, in the treatment of dissenters against the patently unconstitutional Citizenship within bracket Amendment bracket close Act, in the persecution of veteran public intellectuals and social justice leaders, in the wake of the Vim Koregaon violence, in the blatant disregard of the case of the political detainees in Kashmir. The list of disappointingly long and getting longer still. Most recently, the 83-year-old Jewish priest and tribal rights leader Father Stan Swami, who is suffering from Parkinson's disease and has been arrested in connection with Bhima Koregaon, requested to be given a straw and a zipper in jail instead of granting him immediate relief, which would have been the most appropriate humanitarian response. The National Investigation Agency within bracket NIA bracket close court gave the prosecution 2 weeks time to reply. Elsewhere, the Supreme Court had earlier refused to entertain the petition of a journalist from Kerala, Siddiqui Kapan, who has been detained without any basis in Uttar Pradesh for over a month now, directing him to lower courts instead. The court has now agreed to take up the matter later this week, only after the journalist's family approached the court again seeking similar treatment as Mr. Goswami, asking if they were no citizens of this country. Stop writing. Now try to read your script and do transcription. Now the meanings of some important words. This is part 1. This is part 2. And this is the final part. As you see, these words are very important for your written examination perspective. So pause the video and note down these words. Now I am showing you outlines. This is part 1. This is part 2. Now I am showing you the full passage. This is part 1. This is part 2. This is part 3. And this is the final part. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you like my work. Please take care. Bye.